and welcome to another episode of Old Bollocks.
What number?
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, what number is it? I'm going to go for. Is it? Are we up to 8 or 9?
I think it might be 8.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a great start, isn't it? That's how to introduce a podcast.
Yeah.
We don't even know what number episode it is. So yeah.
Just wait. One day we're going to be in the thousands, and we'll have no clue.
We are, and I'm just looking now, and I'm seeing our last episode, and I can't see what the title is.
This is fascinating, folks, right?
It is, isn't it? It just says Old Bollocks. What the fuck?
It's like a peek behind the curtain, and then when you take that peek, there's fuck all happening, and you're just like, oh shit, this is a waste of time.
Yeah. It's that one. It's that one. So I think episode 7. So this is 8. There you go. There's a bit of YouTube for you. Right. Okay. So let's pretend it's just starting now. Hi. Welcome to episode 8.
Oh man, that was weak.
Old Bollocks. It was, wasn't it? We're not going to convince anybody. We can't do the edit. Okay. So you heard. Anyway, it's episode 8. Fuck it. We're going to get on. We've got some tunes to review. We've got some albums to review.
Yep.
We've been given some stuff to listen to. And yeah, welcome back. Hi, guys. How's your metal month been since last we were in your ears? Hopefully you've all been seeing loads of bands having a great time. I know I haven't.
No, me neither.
I've completely fucked up. I'm going to see Rammstein on the 30th, right?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, yeah, nothing on around those days, great. But, I'm going on my own, just love the new album, got to see him. Probably last time I'll ever get to see him. Anyway, that's on a Thursday night. Turns out, on the Thursday and the Friday, and it's down in Wales, so I'll still be in Wales. Thursday night, Enforced. Sorry, no, Thursday night is Cro-Mags with Harley.
Okay.
Friday is Enforced with Knox. 2 people who I have made absolute plans to meet up with. But, it's just not happening. I've got a phone call. Hang on a second.
All right, let's do it.
Hello?
Speaking to Howard.
You are indeed, yes.
Hey, I'm calling from Sky Mobile. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, mate. I'm absolutely fine. And I've got no need for anything from you guys at the moment. Thank you very much. Not a tablet and not any further subscriptions. If anything, if you can save me money, that's great. But I'm sure you're trying to sell me something.
Oh, you won't know until you hear the call, but that's fine. No problem.
Great.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
That was. What is going on with telemarketing in England? It's just like, hey, would you like to buy something? No. All right then. Bye.
No, but that was that. No, no, mate. You missed it. You missed it. That was passive aggressive British style of. Well, you won't know what it is until you hear the offer. But if you'd rather not, ooh, someone's pissed off at work. Oh dear. Well, that's the first. Yeah, couldn't have planned that.
I thought you should have invited him on. Like, well, what do you think of the new Kreator album?
Yeah. I'm sure he would have had an opinion. Absolutely.
Probably.
That completely threw me. So anyway, yeah. So I fucked up my plans to see Cro-Mags and Harley and Knox and Enforced. I can't believe it.
I mean, I'm sure they'll understand. It's Rammstein, so
look, it's badly advised, is what it is. I mean, I've just messed it up. Anywho, never mind. Fuck it. Should we get stuck straight in with a new album?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, I think we're both kind of reviewing the same new albums. Oh no,
I've got 2 that you don't know about. The only one I think the only other one I'm doing is Kreator. So if you want to hop in and talk about Kreator,
Absolutely.
That seems like the biggest one in our world that's kind of just come out, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't even remember what it's called. Hate Uber Alice is the name
That's
of the
right.
album.
Yeah, which is ironically the title, and the title track is I really like. I don't hate it at all, but it's also possibly the standout track.
I could say that about the whole album, where I don't hate it. It's just, I think anyone that knows Kreator well knows that they've made this shift into doing this style of their music where it's almost like the verses have been resigned to thrash metal and the choruses have been resigned to power metal or something like that. And every for the past couple albums at least, there's been this like almost like a formula of the style of songs that they're doing, which if you're into that, like, it's very well done, but everything has like a very fast thrashy riff with him shouting the vocals over it, and then it goes into halftime, and then there's a uplifting set of chords, and the chorus of line is yelled over it repeatedly, and then it goes into a solo, and then to vary it up, there's a song that has like the kind of beat to it. And so it's just kind of like this thing where they've got this thing that they're doing, and it seems like people like it. And so this album, Hate Uber Alice, is just more of the same.
And this is what happens. Isn't it? It's like you get what you're given. If you're eating it up, then they're going to keep giving you more of that. Yeah, and for me, I mean, Kreator have been on a strong run. But for me, this album, and I accept what you say about the last few albums.
Yeah,
but I've been cool with that.
Oh, okay,
but it's like, but this album, I've kind of gone, hang on a minute, this is way too predictable. And by that, I mean, oh, right, hang on. We're due for one of these kind of songs. Oh, right on time. Here it comes. We're due a song about not being nostalgic about the 80s in metal. Whoa, here it comes. And the song that annoys me more than any is the final track, Dying Planet. Dying Planet! Right? Yeah. The reason it annoys me is, here's the news, folks. The planet's not dying, okay? This is a scientific fact. The planet is not dying. The optimum conditions for human life are dying out. Yes, that. But we being the huge egotistical beings that we are, decide that, well, if we can't live here, it means the planet's dying, right? No. It just means that it's evolving, and it's evolving to a state that's going to end up without us. Have a chat to the dinosaurs, see how that goes.
So maybe they should have called it Dying Civilization, or even you could even say Dying World, because world doesn't necessarily mean planet.
No, you've missed an open goal there. It should have been called the optimum conditions for human life are dying. Yeah. Suboptimal prospects for a long future.
That's
another title.
That's like a Carcass song title or something.
No, there was no blood or chains or saws in there.
Yeah.
But either way, I'm sure Bill could come up with some fucking astounding riffs.
Yeah.
Dear me. So yeah, I just think that I liked the last Kreator album, and it's going to be interesting because I'm going to go back to that and the one before it. I'm going to go back to those two, and I'm going to have a listen, because I'm just wondering if over those three albums you see it just kind of revealed a little bit more. And so if I go back, it's going to be a case of, right, okay, do these albums still pass muster? Knowing what I know now,
honestly,
will they still sound the same?
I don't think there's been a Kreator album that I full on was like really stoked about since Hordes of Chaos, which I think is like 2010 or something like that.
I did really like Hordes of Chaos. I did really like
But
that.
and also prior to that, we've talked about like some of their 90s work before. Like they have great shit in the 80s and in the 90s, stuff that's like totally overlooked. It's really good. And so like you come to the stuff now, it's almost like I kind of want to give them a pass because they've produced so much quality shit over the years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look. Let me get this straight. This is not fuck Kreator what they've ever done. I mean, and they're at a stage in their career where they can do what they fucking like, and they don't have to listen to people like me and you.
Yeah.
I mean, they know what they're fucking doing.
I mean, it's the same thing. People have their complaints about like what Anthrax does now, and I love it, but I could totally see how somebody else would be like, well, there's not enough thrash going on, there's too much kind of grabbing from all these different elements of metal instead of making thrash.
2 words: breathing lightning.
What? So is that a song that you don't like either?
No,
I don't understand that, because I think that's a great song, but that is a song I've heard many people say that they don't like. Is it because it's got like the sort of uplifting like major key chorus?
It's the to throw a phrase back in Scott's face, fist banging mania. It just sounds like to me, standard fist banging mania heavy metal. It's just and so obviously I'm a huge Anthrax fan, so that's not hence the diversion from Kreator to Anthrax.
But going back to that, because you were talking about sort of general fist in the air kind of metal, the Kreator thing. So and I feel like I've been saying this a lot, like on my channel recently, that I'm becoming more and more uncomfortable with anyone saying I'm a metalhead, because I feel like an album like this, like the Kreator album, is actual metalheads would love this album, because I don't think people that are true metalheads are that picky. And so I feel like what Kreator is doing is quality shit, and those types of metal fans would be all on board with this album. And so like that's why like I talk about it and I back away a little bit, because I go, look, I listen to metal most of the time, but you can't just give me any old thing that sounds kind of metal and I'm not going to be like, yeah, I'll shout along with whatever it is that you're saying. And so that's the problem, is that I feel like I'm not the target audience anymore.
Well, I was just going to say, what we are, my friend, we are legacy fans. We've been around. I mean, I was buying Kreator stuff. I was buying their first few albums when they came out, not years later. And I didn't my first album wasn't Hordes of Chaos or something like that, and then I've gone back through the catalog and gone, ooh, that old stuff's a bit shit, isn't it? Oh yeah, the production's dodgy, and they were a bit off their trolleys when they were younger, but now they're cool and they can write songs. So it's as with everything, I think, whether it's a movie, whether it's a band, and there's a perfect example of this coming later in this showcase. It's what you bring to it. It's really it's a massive percentage of what you bring to it. What kind of mood you're in, what kind of stuff you're in the mood for, and I find it, especially with movies. I don't know. I can really struggle with some movies, but sometimes it's what I've brought to it, or I'm really not in the mood for it, whatever that is. But yeah, I think without a doubt, it's just one of those things that, this is where Kreator are now with their career. And everything that you said about Anthrax, and that you could say about Metallica, and then you look at the other end of the scale and you say, well, Slayer, they just carried on doing what they were doing. It's like, well, yeah, and Metallica have changed, gone all over the place, and they get lambasted for it and accused of selling out. Slayer just keep doing the same thing, and they get lambasted for just keep doing the same thing and never taking any risks.
You can't please everybody.
No, you just got to. So and that's what it comes down to. the whole, you just got to, the members of the band have got to be happy with doing what they're doing, and you know, I've always seen that as the saving grace of Metallica and some of their musical departures, is that, yeah, well, if that's what they want to do, then you know, they're perfectly entitled to it. Every fucking conversation comes back to Metallica, doesn't it? Should we just get back?
With me, for sure it does.
Should we just get back to Kreator then? So, like, all in all, it's, you know, it's if you're listening to this and you haven't heard the album yet, it sounds exactly how you think it's going to sound. It's produced exactly the way it's. I mean, you know, it's in there for you. If you like the last album, get this one. Although certainly what I'm saying is, this one kind of doesn't, you know. But if you're more of a recent Kreator fan, or a fan of Kreator's recent stuff, then I think you'll like this, and I think you'll find there's progression there. You know, there's female vocals on it. Yeah. So that's a, you know, a progression for Kreator, etc.
Yeah.
But I was hopeful. Hey Uber Alice, I liked, and I still really like. I think that's a great, you know, snarly opening Kreator tune. Yeah. But we very, very quickly get into what I can only describe as a rut.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's kind of like, right, okay. Hey Uber Alice had a bit of bite, bit of intensity about it. And that kind of just sort of fades out as the album progresses.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you know, what would I give it? Points 3.5 out of 5, something like that. You know,
I'd probably go with that. It's I mean, I might even go more of a 4, because I just like,
really.
Well, if it's, because it's weird. That's why I always think that your normal album reviews that like you read in a magazine are always really weird, because I'm like, well, who is this for? If you're writing the review for somebody who's a fan of that style of music, would you give it a higher rating than what you expect?
No,
you know,
because your job is for you to review it, and not you to review it on behalf of anyone else. It's for you, because that's the same. That's the same. That's the same discussion that you get back at you when you get shit reviews and you're on the phone crying to your record label. They always say the same thing. It's just one person's opinion.
Yeah.
Just one person's opinion.
Well, if that's the case, then if you're talking to me, this album lost me, and I got very bored.
All right, so you've gone from a 4 to what sounds like a fucking 2 in the space of a minute.
I'm gonna meet with you at the 3, because I think it's very well done. That, you know, I like their style, but I need something different. But it's not their fault. It's my fault. So there you go. It's not you. It's not them. It's me. You know.
Well, they are you know, they're clearly, you know, writing stuff for a Kreator audience that we're no longer part of.
It sounds like music that would be really great at a festival, like a metal festival, and everyone is like, you know, it's like that. It seems like that kind of shit. All their songs are
but
like festival ready.
But you only get heavy metal. You only get greatest hit sets at festivals. You know, you don't get any deep cuts.
That's true.
So
we don't even get metal festivals over here, really.
Oh,
not that I would go. You know, mate. I don't like being around that many people.
But well, I would definitely go to see Kreator if they're playing in town. I'm sure I will next time they're around. But there you go. Okay, so well, that's our dual review. Hit me up, buddy, with what you want to review next.
So I've got 2 albums, and I'm going to be reviewing. Both are recently released by the same independent record label called Unspeakable Axe Records, and that's AXE, Unspeakable Axe Records.
I see what they did there.
Yeah, there are, and honestly, when it comes to newer metal stuff, like the more underground kind of stuff, they're like one of the best, in my opinion, because they put out the most interesting stuff, and the stuff that I think plays to the aesthetic that I enjoy a little bit more when it comes to extreme music, because they have everything from thrash to death metal and all that stuff. But they just released the second album by a Canadian thrash band called Besieged. And the album is called Violence Beyond All Reason. I'm not going to have anything to show or tap my fingers on, because these albums have not been released on vinyl yet. But it's their second album, but their first album was released 12 years ago. And it's been this, you know, big gap of like people who know that first Besieged album. We've all been waiting for this. And finally it comes out, and it's 7 tracks. It's 26 minutes long. It is unrelenting. It is batshit crazy for 26 minutes.
Wow.
And it's so much fun. Like it's on the extreme end of thrash. Very technical, very riffy, shouted vocals. It's got Ed Repka artwork, on the front of it. But it's a little bit different. Like this is their second album that's had Ed Repka artwork, and this artwork, it's for him, it seems a little different. It's more sci-fi, and almost has a really weird, almost digital quality to it. Where I'm like, is this digital Ed Repka art? But anyway, I like it anyway because I don't know what it is about the way that dude draws an album cover. I don't really care. I'm just like, it looks nice, looks great.
You are absolutely desperate for the vinyl of this, aren't you?
Oh hell yeah, I am. I think it's coming at some point. But anyway, it's literally just like very, like if you're talking about like old school Kreator, like think of the song Betrayer.
Yeah,
it's that song for like 26 minutes on this album. There's even a point where like 3 of the songs directly lead into each other, where they're not even giving you a breath in between these really chaotic. It's like it's very tight. The riffs are really great. It's got a whole lot of like, you glance at whatever's playing and you go, oh fuck. And it's that kind of album. The only thing I could say is the production could be a little better. It's a little lacking in the bass guitar department because there are certain parts where I go, is there a bass guitar? But normally that doesn't bother me. But I had to like find something about it that I go, well, is there a negative? The production could be a little better. But it is like indie. This is truly like independent stuff. This isn't coming out on Nuclear Blast or whatever. It's great. If you like,
I'm sounding like I would really.
If you like really fast, aggressive thrash that's really well done with a lot of cool riffs, then this is the album.
Hook me up.
Besieged, Violence Beyond All Reason. Do you want me to jump into the other one I have real quick? Just because,
yeah, why not?
Because it's similar in vibe, although a different genre. Also on Unspeakable Acts Records. I apologize for my voice, ladies and gentlemen. Does it sound sexy right now?
You don't sound that much. You don't sound that much more different.
Okay,
usual,
good. Good. I've been sick recently, so I'm getting over it. So the other one is a band called Suppression from Chile, and they're a death metal band, and the album is called The Sorrow of Soul Through Flesh, and it's their debut album. And these guys were on my radar because they had a 7-inch EP that came out a couple years ago. And it's cool because it's you could call it old school death metal, but I have a weird relationship with death metal because I guess you could even say it with thrash, because I love so much old school death metal and thrash. But then if you get to modern bands doing that sound, most of the time I go, you're not doing it right. And so these guys are doing it right in the respect that it seems like when there's modern death metal bands that are trying to do a classic sound, it's almost like they only listen to Bolt Thrower and that's it. They're like, oh no, all classic death metal sounded like Bolt Thrower. I'm like, well, no, it didn't. Like all these different bands, Obituary, Cannibal Corpse, Atheist, Deicide, they all sounded completely different. And a lot of them were doing really technical kind of stuff with their death metal style. And that is what Suppression is doing. It's very technical, real tight. It's got, and Home Dude plays a fretless bass, so you get to hear all that sort of kind of shit. Like what's that death album? Individual Thought Patterns. You hear, I think it's Steve DiGiorgio that plays bass on that, and the whole album is like him going, and I don't know why I like that so much. It's very cool. But
don't hear enough fretless bass in death metal.
And but it's really well done, and it's such intricate riffs, and it's got that thing that a lot of death metal bands used to do. They don't do as much anymore, where it's like it's a lower riff, but each guitar is playing a harmony version of that riff, and it just sounds so nice and sweet in the ears. and it's just really well done. It's a little, compared to Besieged, it's very aggressive. 10 tracks, although one of them is a little interlude. It's 39 minutes, so it still isn't like pushing the boundaries of what I think is too long. But it really is. This is the sort of thing where if you like old school death metal, you're going to like this because it has a vibe that's in the old school, but it's also really, really well done. And it does. In this case with Suppression, you could draw comparisons to a lot of bands from back in the day, a little bit of gore guts or something like that in there. But I just think it's really well done. And like when it comes to like younger bands doing death metal, I feel like these guys are doing it right. And it's just a really fun album. If you like that vibe, if you like that old school death metal vibe, but it's technical and has a lot of interesting riffs. It isn't just relying on double kick and chugging on D the whole time. Then you'll like Suppression. The sorrow.
Well, I think you've done a good job.
Soul through flesh.
Sorry, I think you've done a great job of describing that.
Yeah.
The weird thing is that just towards the end there, I've also got to apologise. I've got parakeets squeaking around in the background, so sorry, listeners. And they keep distracting me. Sorry, viewers. The other thing is that, you said they got a little bit of gore guts in there, and for some reason, in my head I was going, I was just thinking a little bit of gore guts, a little bit again, a little bit of, I was really trying not to start laughing and put you off. So my apologies, but there you go.
They should do a parody version of that song only with death metal bands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody get on that.
Well, let's keep up the death metal theme, although this band, for my money, are no longer death metal. And that is Decapitated. So the new album, Counterculture, it just fucking rocks. And I know that's not much help to anybody. All I can say is it's thrashier, heavier than Anti-Cult. If you haven't heard Anti-Cult, get your ears around that and then get your ears around this, or vice versa. I'm sure the band won't mind. But yeah, it's got everything you want. It's got pace, it's got thrash, it's got death, it's got melody, it's got Rob Flynn guest vocals, and do you know what? Does a really good job. Works.
He's popping up a lot recently.
but it absolutely works. Do you know what I mean? It really does. And I listened to this album. I've created a playlist in my phone where I throw all new stuff that I'm listening to at the moment and churning it. And this album is in the playlist, and then Kreator is in the playlist. And what I realized was that basically Decapitated are who Kreator used to be, or rather they're from that era, as in once you listen to Decapitated and the intense fucking thrash, and then listen to Kreator straight afterwards, it's like, a bit of Light Relief, a little bit of mainstream metal. And it's like, do you know what? When I first got into Kreator, they were Decapitated. And then you'd listen to Kreator and you'd listen to like Maiden for some Light Relief or whatever. But it's come full circle because Decapitated are absolutely fucking on a mission. Every one of their albums has been different. They've really, I'm not much of a fan of their really deathy early stuff, but they are a band that you can tell are constantly changing. But to be this heavy and intense still is quite the mission. And there's some female vocals on the album as well, and some just really beautiful metal moments. There are also some just absolutely brutal tunes, including a particular favorite of mine that I can never remember, as fans of my brain will know I don't have one. 70 seconds long. 77 seconds long, Locked, and that'll have your eyebrows off. That's just an absolute barnstorm.
I've only heard I think one or two tracks off this so far, and neither one of them really connected with me, but I mean I have liked what this band has done in the past. I even saw them I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago when they came through here, and they were really good.
Well,
so I gotta dive into this one.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, mate. That's exactly what you're going to have to do. Get diving. Get diving. I'll follow on from there. Trying to sort of, keep all of our keep our theme going, if there is a theme.
Okay.
This is very tenuous, but I'll go to a German band. Actually, I don't know what the theme was because Decapitated they're next to Kreator in my playlist, but I'm not sure if that counts as a major deal. So the band's German. The band's Rammstein, of course, and their album Niet. I mention it again because I'd only just kind of had a few listens in the last episode, and it's awesome. I mean, as mentioned earlier, I've bought a ticket to see them. I'm totally back in love with them. The videos they've put out for the tracks so far of the album are the usual absolute insanity. I just love this band. I love this band. I mean, sometimes I remember you saying, I don't know what people see in the band. And funnily enough, I was listening to a song recently, and I was thinking, your words were echoing in my head. And I was listening, and I was thinking, this verse. This is like, it's plodding drums, a little bit of keyboard, and the guitars occasionally playing chords. I mean, actually sort of, breaking it down, it's just, but for some reason, it just fucking works for me.
Yeah.
Honestly,
those are kind of the best kind of bands, the ones where some people have a hard time getting into it, but then some people just are all about it. Like, I feel like those are the special bands, the ones that kind of create that divide. And this is high praise, because like you like this album so much, you wanted to talk about it again. So that's
absolutely.
So there you go. I mean, I couldn't get into it, of course, but like that, I've already not been a fan. So they'd have to completely change their sound altogether in order to win me over.
And they're not for everybody. They're not for everybody. I would say who fits in the same. I mean, to revisit something we mentioned on the last podcast, is the Kirk Hammett album. I mean, if that ain't got Kirk Hammett's name on it, that no one is hunting that down. And even so as well, I just didn't. Song sums. I genuinely, there was one particular song where I was like, this to me is like Kirk's warm-up routine, and he's invited some fucker with a cello in or something to just fuck around in the background while he does some warm-ups. And it was just, I was like, really, yes, this really is one man's collective artistic jism.
I liked it, but yeah, you're right. It's hard for me to separate myself from the Metallica fan, because it's gotten to the point that it's been such a long time now that it's almost just like in my DNA that like I have to recuse myself from any conversations, because I'm just like, look, I love Saint Anger and Lulu and all that shit. So you can't talk to me. Don't talk to me.
True. Very, very true. But yeah, it's just, not something that worked for me particularly.
But Rammstein works totally.
Yeah, absolutely. So have we got to the section of the show where we insert the other bit that we did earlier during the month, or is there something else you want to talk about?
No, well, there is, but I believe we actually mentioned it in this clip, and so I'm going to ask you about it after the clip.
Oh, right there with you, buddy. Right there with you.
So as we normally do, this is the section where the listeners or viewers send in requests of albums they think we should check out. And this time we only chose one, but you'll get to see our process for going into it. Let's just do it right now.
Yeah, and just send us your ideas. Send us your albums that we can go rummaging for on the internet. That we may have never heard. What are we missing?
And then you'll hear us mention you just like this.
Yeah, exactly. Over to us. Ta-da! And here we are in the past, where you're listening now. We're in the future, but we're in the past. But
I think that this whole bit has got to get really old for everybody. Like, just talk about the fucking albums.
It's the present here, though. Honestly. So anyway, yeah. What have we got? What have we got?
We've got a few suggestions. Here's what we got. We haven't gotten as many suggestions, but we got 3 good ones, and one of them that seems very interesting. So I'll read them to you real quick.
Okay.
So the very first one, I think these were all from YouTube. Whoever this user is, Mama Luigi 318, said, "I recommend Green Lung if you haven't checked them out yet." That sounds like a band I've heard of.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
There's no album suggested on it, but I thought I would just read. It's a suggestion.
I couldn't attest to what kind of music Green Lung is, to be honest.
Sounds like stoner rock to me.
Yeah. Well, I've either got that or kind of doom or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm now going to Google it on my phone, because otherwise it's just going to annoy everybody listening, isn't it? Really.
That's all right.
So anyway,
that's what we're here for, to annoy everybody.
But they haven't. Well, right. Young British metal bands. Doomy hard rock and proto metal. They're dragging it into the 21st century, apparently.
And they're
dose
British.
Of occult venom and a mordant of wit.
Oh, that's a good description. Whoever wrote that.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So
okay, well, yeah.
So that's in the running. But here's number 2.
Yeah.
From Carlos A. Zuluaga.
Thank you, Carlos.
I'm American, so I can't pronounce anything. Here is a one-man eclectic metal band for your consideration. Toehider. The album is called What Kind of Creature?
One word or two?
One word, Toehider. The album is called What Kind of Creature Am I? And it just says Michael Mills is one of the best singers out there. Which I think we've made a lot of references to one man's collective jism.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm thinking is, fucking hell, solo albums, bad idea. Singer solo albums, the worst idea. And I'm a singer, so I'm acknowledging it.
The third one here you're gonna like, and you're gonna have to give me a minute because I at first I was like, well, maybe I could cut things out of this paragraph, but I feel like it's all important to explain this person's.
I'm fascinated,
choice.
as I'm sure the listener is too.
Okay, so this is from Alexander Radjojevic. Man, it's a long name, hard to say. Anyway, it says, Stephen, I totally agree with your dead-on assessment of modern patchworky emo screamo deatho growly plus mellow genty metal. They constantly keep on losing me at hello. That's why you need to listen to this record that just came out. The band is called Emissary. The album is called The Wretched Masquerade from 2022. It is a debut LP, but it's not a new band. They actually formed the beginning of the 90s. This is their first proper studio recording of their almost 30-year-old demos, they are just fucking terrific. It's a rare breed of music that unfortunately doesn't exist anymore today. It hits that sweet spot between heavy and thrash metal that's Metal Church, Cyclone Temple, and even Power Mad knew how to nail, with great songwriting, funny, sardonic, intelligent lyrics, and just crushing melodic old school metal atmosphere overall. So it's that whole that seems kind of right. And he threw in a couple names in there with Cyclone Temple and Power Mad, bands that I like. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's like an old school thrash, but also
I think he obviously agrees with your assessment, so he watches your channel obviously because he's seen this. And hello, by the way. But he's also dropped a few little he's dropped a few little gold nuggets in there for you, hasn't he? He's tempted you in with bands he knows you like. I've got to admit, there's a slight bit of apprehension on my part. I have no wish to return to the 80s.
90s, but
fair point. But you got, there was a number of bands there, funnily enough, who was listing where I was thinking, yeah, wasn't particularly a big Metal Church fan, and the reason being they were a bit too metal for me. They weren't thrashy enough. So I'm just wondering if, and given these are like 30-year-old demos and all the rest of it, okay, look, let's do this one.
Okay.
But I am not going to hold back.
Okay. Warning, everybody.
Yeah. So if anybody, also, but as you all know, not only will I not hold back if I don't like it, but I will not hold back if I do like it as well. I mean, Deficiency, fucking hell. I've got the CD. I've been badgering them to get them on the podcast, stalking them. I mean, really, everything. I've done everything but go over to France and walk into rehearsals, to be honest. But okay. Then again, having said that, I think we should bring up at this point, because I've just stumbled on this, of course, a clip of our last episode that was used by the band, by
Four Stroke Baron.
Yes. Yeah. So I just in case this comes their way, I'm sure that was sent to them because someone said, "Oh, like you're meant, you're reviewed here," or something like that. Or they saw a tag, whatever. But if they happen to be passing by again, just want to say that was high class. That really, really was. A mouthy cunt like me, being just put up there to go like, and like, just let your social media army go at me. And I was amazed. I thought the comments would just be, who the fuck does this guy think he is? But clearly, Four Stroke Baron have a fan base that is far beyond anything that I could ever imagine. So, I mean, it's like I feel really like you warmed to the band, not musically, but I'm still warm to the band. I'm followed.
You have to be pretty. I feel like you have to be pretty open-minded to be into them. So. Maybe that's what it is. Honestly, if you ever like look at the kind of things they post and the kind of music videos they make, they are quirky and interesting dudes. Yeah. Like all of their music videos, I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen any music videos like these, the way that they present them and everything. And I'm like, well, that's new. Right. How often do you say that?
Damn you. You're making me go fucking watch videos of them now as well. I'm going to end up liking them and having to get that clip taken down.
You should, because like I have to admit, like there are plenty of bands that like an album will come out and I'll be so gung-ho about it, and then 6 months later I'll go, yeah, it was pretty good. But this is one that I literally still put on and I go, oh fuck, man, this is so good. It just gets better. So
I mean, I feel like I owe the band, to be honest, because I kind of feel like it needs a reassessment. I will try. I'll try and wipe my brain.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah,
skip the first track, because it takes a little bit for that track to get going. Okay. And it has that riff that's it's very simple and kind of moody metal stuff. But then if you go further into the album, I think you get these different flavors, and then go back and try it from the beginning and kind of see how it all flows. But I think when you were talking about the album, you were talking about how that first song is just kind of hard to get into it through that song.
Right. Okay. You have a better memory of that. You have a better memory of what I thought to that album than I do. So yeah, I mean, I'm up for that. So, okay. I will, I'll try again.
So for the user suggestions, since we only got 3, obviously let's just pick the one album.
Yeah.
And also this is, for everybody that's watching, that's made it this far into the episode and is watching this part, like, obviously we need suggestions. I'm sure we already mentioned it earlier on in the actual episode, I'm sure, but if you're taking into consideration what just happened in our conversation, if you really go for it with your description, give us like, it doesn't have to be as long as the one that I just read, but give me something to sink my teeth into about why is this so fucking good.
Look at the albums we've picked in the past. We've had an album that was sat on by a label for 12 years, if not longer than that. We had an album. We had now an album by a French thrash metal band about an 18th century haunting of a coal mining village. And I got to be honest with you, I stand by what I said on my own last podcast, which was, I just couldn't give a fuck about any of these concepts, and like literally any band's concept. It's like I just switch off the minute they start going, well, what it's about is about, and they'll start launching into some grandiose description, and I just think, nah, you're right.
And I agree.
And I just think it's like there is a fucking birds. There is a there is a medium for these concepts. It's called movies. You know, that's where every concept album that you've ever read, that you go, make the film. Yeah, work on a screenplay, work on a script, give that to somebody and make the film. Okay, maybe throw some songs on the soundtrack if you can get it made. You know, whatever. But yeah, I just think it's like you're just shackled to something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
But I really want there to be an album that's a concept album that I can grasp that there's a concept without it being explained to me or having to read lyrics. That's a tall order right there.
No, do you know what? You're absolutely spot on there. You're absolutely spot on. Because it's like if I'm hearing lyrics that are dialogue, I'm just you know, it's just like no, you know, or you know, someone trying to tell a story. You know, you're listening to this heavy album, and someone's trying to tell a story, and it's like in directions. You know what I mean? Left down here, take a right at the bridge. I don't want that. You know,
it could be worse. They could have legit dialogue in between the songs. I think that would be awful.
Well, some do, but again, there's always exceptions to the rule. Okay, so the exceptions to the rule. Well, the exception to the rule is Pink Floyd, The Wall, and that's about it. But which is why it's such an incredible album, because it's also the exception that proves the rule that double albums can be fantastic.
Well, also they had the power of that album is well. On top of that, every song on that album is good.
Yeah,
like even the ones that are just sort of quick little things, they all have memorable qualities to them. So that alone, it doesn't even need to be a concept. It's just a bunch of good songs.
And you know what? Let's go back to what you said at the very beginning. No one needs to explain the fucking Wall to you.
No, actually, no, because it is. You kind of get the idea of what it is.
The songs roll into each other, and
there is a little bit of dialogue in that album too. Yeah,
true. Yeah, but the lyrics tell the story of what's going on. But because they are such universal themes, these are just lyrics to a song. You could take any song off The Wall. Well, look at Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. That was a number one single all over the world.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I knew nothing about the album. When I was a little kid, I had the 45 single of Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 that literally is edited together just like one song.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have anything connecting to it, so I had no clue.
And do you remember what was on the B-side?
No, actually. What was on the B-side?
It's something that's not on the album. It's called When the Tigers Broke Free.
Oh, okay. That sounds familiar. I don't even remember what the song was, but I don't think I listened to that side as much.
I'm pretty sure it is. There's probably some Pink Floyd fan listening there going, "You dick, you're wrong." In which case, I apologize. You know, but yeah, I mean, and there's the prime example of it's like they did the album's fucking great, and it's so great it's made a movie. Mm-hmm. You know, and again,
and a good movie too.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this, watching this. If you've never really paid attention to Pink Floyd, The Wall, I'm not saying that you have to, or you have to go out but just acknowledge the fucking genius. Yeah, we're talking about a double album that is immense. Every song's a winner, like you said. It's a concept, and it's a fucking Alan Parker award-winning movie.
And on top of that, though, it's one of the only concept albums I can think of that truly feels cinematic, where there is a fucking climax, like that's the whole the trial, that whole song.
Yes.
Like that feels like the climax to a movie before they'd ever made a fucking movie. That's genius. Like those dudes. I mean, I know they're not underrated. A lot of people love Pink Floyd, but I think a lot of people shit on them, and I'm like, well, you could not like some of their stuff, but the achievements that those guys reached, it's insane.
Absolutely but also conversely, I'm going to go to a concept album that has dialogue all over it that I couldn't give a fuck about the concept. I've never worked it out since it came out 30 years ago, but without doubt, one of the greatest metal albums of the last century. Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche.
Agree. Excellent album. And and that was one that I think I only learned the story because I read it after the fact. So
yes, yeah. I've just never even been bothered to do that. But it's Kill Mary. That's
I remember now.
Yeah, bit of Jeff Tate for you there. So
how do we get on this?
Dr. Bear, telephone, please. Dr. Bear, telephone, please. This is just you and I. And
speaking of an album with no bad songs on it, like every track on Operation Mindcrime everyone seemed like it was a single. They released like every song.
And also, again, like Floyd, there's some short songs like "Empty Rooms." That's where Jeff Tate does his David Bowie. "Empty rooms today." Oh. He does he just listen to it again. He's so Bowie in that. But Tate's performance on that album is fucking outstanding. It is. It's one of the great metal vocal performances. It really is. And again, brilliant album.
So the choice for circling back around, our choice is going to be the album "The Wretched Masquerade" by Emissary, and I'll get that over to you.
Thank you very much.
So I guess that's
cool.
Yeah, that'll be we'll find out in the future what we think about that album.
We're about to pronounce our opinions on said album right now. Yeah, absolutely.
And we're back. No, there we go.
There we go.
That was fun, wasn't it? Seeing how young we looked back then.
Absolutely, I've aged dreadfully.
Yeah, what happened? So in the conversation we had, we chose an album. We'll get into that in a minute. But the thing I wanted to ask you about is that you mentioned wanting to give another bit of a listen to an album that I love and continue to want to talk about, which is the Four Stroke Baron album, Classics. And I sent you another copy of it, and you've listened to it. And I think you said that it's not as bad, but I don't think you're not totally on board with it. But what are your thoughts now?
Well, after the good-natured ribbing, well, no, they just used a clip. Anywho, I kind of felt like I had to go and have a listen, so I've been listening.
Yeah,
and you gave me that advice. Don't play the first track, which I haven't been. And there's it's a lot better than I remember, and it's a lot less annoying. But the thing is, I think, and I have a tendency to do this, it's totally my thing, but I have a tendency to, once I start taking against something, it's very difficult to wind me back.
Yeah.
So if a band or an album or something starts annoying me, it's probably just going to get worse. Although, the bands that turn it around are forever, I'll forever be a fan of. But I think I just, maybe I wasn't in the mood, whatever. It's a lot better than I remember. I do think the album is smothered to death in too many vocals. There is hardly a minute where this guy can't shut up. I mean, rehearsals must be amazing. Somebody will be doing, like playing an instrumental section, and then suddenly he starts wailing. They'll be looking at me, dude, really now?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just,
that part never hit me because I can think of plenty of parts where there's no vocals, but I get what you're saying, because he does do things where it's not just the lyrics parts. There's other vocal parts as well.
Yes, that's that. Yeah, and to me that is just a bit. It's a bit keen. It's a bit right. It's all right being keen, but you can be a bit too fucking keen.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, look, I loved what you did in that part in the song, but maybe let's have a little bit of breath. Let's have a bit of air, and no, can't I go over this bit? I'm taking it. He's a great vocalist. Having said all of that, from a technical standpoint, he's got a fantastic voice. He knows how to use it. Great melodies, great harmonies. The song "Prostitute" Part 2. Yeah, that chorus is an earworm. Yeah. I mean, I could, it's just there straight away. Yeah. And any band that can do that, hats off, because that's what it's all about. Earworms to a certain extent.
And that song is one of the most no nonsense songs on the album, because it just starts with the chorus. It doesn't. Yeah. It's like there's no like build up to it, but yeah.
I also spent a bit more time going a bit more in depth, realizing how good the drummer is.
And
he's absolutely. But again, there are sections where there's some fucking really heavy guitars. There's some awesome drumming going on. I'm thinking, this is great, but I'm having to block out a certain someone whining some harmonies over this section, and it's unneeded. But it's not always vocals, gotta say. Sometimes it's like it's needless keyboards. Yeah. It's just sometimes I feel like there is a tight as fuck, really interesting band there. And then they smother it in all this production. Yeah. And I'd really like to see that band live, stripped back, no fucking about, no massive production. I'd like to see what those songs are like live, because I think there could be almost like a different band there.
You can see it online. They actually just posted something recently of them doing a short set, and it is more stripped down for sure. Now the drummer is like, not only is he a great drummer, but he keeps that shit going, because there are elements from the songs that they have like pre-recorded that play, and I'm pretty sure he's in charge of keeping them on track and playing the drums the way that he plays. So I'm just like, that dude just fucking rules, because he's keeping the whole thing going.
Yeah. And I mean, look, that kind of describes my point, really. If you've got sections of your set where you're having to play it over the PA, because you can't recreate it live, then clearly you got a bit carried away in the studio. That is a big sign that you got carried away in the studio. If you're having to put slabs of the album through the PA, then I really admire. I mean, they've gone full on 100%. Do you know what I mean? It's like they haven't backed it off at all. They've gone, no, this is our artistic vision. This is what we want. This is what we do. This, I'm presuming this is what and how we want it. For me, I definitely would have backed it off a bit. I just think there's times where it's overproduced, where there is not too much going on, but there's stuff going on that is detracting from other stuff going on instead of adding to it. So there's times where that amazingly heavy type band, they just never get a breath. You never go, wow, that is just the boys holding down that awesome groove. There's always something else, and I think occasionally it'd be nice for it, for the production not to be, nudging at me going, oh, listen to this and listen to that and listen to this. Like,
well, maybe that's Devin Townsend's fault, because he did that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's the guy. He did production on that album.
Oh well, there you go.
But not to continue, because we've talked about this album enough. But the one thing I am going to say is, I think I'm going to send you their previous album, because it is exactly that. It's a more stripped down version. I don't think the songs are as strong necessarily, but it definitely is way more stripped down than what Classics
I can already see where this is going. And me and Mr. Townsend are going to fall out. I guarantee you're going to send me the album and I'm going to be like, man, this is great. What did Devin do to that fucking new album?
Yeah.
Or maybe not. I might be wrong. Who knows?
I like all their shit. I like the different flavors they give us, but
they're different flavors of shit. You like all that shit.
Yeah. But let's move on to the task at hand, which if you've been watching, you know that we picked an album by a band called Emissary.
Or listening, don't worry, podcasters. I care about you.
I'm sorry.
Even if he doesn't.
I do. I care about them all. They're all my children. The album is called The Wretched Masquerade. And this one was, we already talked about it. It was Alexander R, because I'm not going to butcher his last name again.
What? So instead you just did a pirate impression. It's Alexander R.
It was that was, I could do a better pirate than that. But anyway, so I actually looked up, a bit more information on the album too. And so this was a band that was around in the 90s, and I think maybe in the
I can believe it, because on this album there's every song they've ever written, I think. And
then I guess they didn't ever do an album, couldn't get a record deal, and then had internal problems and split up in the mid 90s. And then this is a re-recording of their demos from the 90s, done now in like 2021, I think is when it came out. They label themselves power metal. I went to their Bandcamp and they call themselves power metal. I don't really hear a lot. I mean, I guess a little bit is there. Our buddy Alexander, who requested this album, he mentioned the names Metal Church, Cyclone Temple, and Power Mad. I guess I could see that they're fans of those bands. Maybe a little bit of Metal Church in there, but it's very middle of the road.
It's for me, it's of its time. Just because it got re-recorded recently doesn't make it recent. Yeah. And I think I remember saying in the previous clip that there were some red flags there.
Yeah.
And the big red flag, the elephant in the room, was this is a re-recording of their demos from the 90s. That's a big red flag. I wondered if that'd be a problem. I thought it would be a problem. It is. Because you can't release songs that you wrote in the 90s with a modern production and expect them to stand up and to be contemporary, because they're not, because things have moved on. We've moved a long way on. And the thing is, I don't listen to this and think, oh, this is great, those were the days.
Yeah.
I think, well, I can see why this wasn't released at the time and you never got picked up by a label, and all these years later, someone's got some money, been able to do this, and that's great, and it's wonderful. And I'm loath to do what I would normally do, which is pile in knee high and really rip it apart, because that wouldn't be fair, because these guys haven't got 6-7 albums out. It's like so they're not there to be shot at. This is literally 24 tracks, I think, and there's quite a few different versions, live versions, and all sorts on it. And as a project, I must imagine that I can imagine they are absolutely over the moon that they've finally got this out there. And I would imagine there's a lot of people like the guy who suggested it, and he's over the moon. And I'm pleased for everybody involved. Yeah. It is not for me. It sounds dated. I don't think the lyrics are clever, intelligent, or amusing in any way. I think they are dated along with the music. Some of the rhymes are cringeworthy.
I was going to use the word cringe.
If cringeworthy is supposed to, if it's supposed to be tongue in cheek, well, I missed that. Yeah. And there's just it's just pleased for everybody involved and for everybody who likes it and who's pleased that this band's finally got got this out. But unfortunately, it sounds like exactly what it is, which is, a bunch of demos from the 90s have been recorded by a band you've never heard of. So,
I'm pretty much with you. I agree. Like the only thing about this that really wasn't enjoyable is the idea of what it is. It is cool that, like, oh, this band that didn't make it got their shit back together and recorded the album.
I'm gonna pick you up on something there, because I think people are gonna have missed this. But did anybody just listen to everything I said and how fairly respectful I was? And then Stephen went down the route of, one of the only things that I like about this album is what you were saying about that they've managed to get together and realize, like, oh, right, okay, you stick it to them. You just,
Well, here's the problem. The one word that kept coming up in my head through the entire album was the word stiff. The whole album, the performances are stiff, the lyrics are stiff. Everything just feels very like, oh, come on, dude, break out of this, do something. And it's very like marching in a straight line exactly to the beat. And the riffs, some of them are very like 2-note riffs. And I'm just like, now I realize that you're saying the thing of like, well, this is very of its time. The demos some of them were in 1995. The music they were making was already dated in 1995. Like band, you know what I'm saying?
And this is what I'm talking about, folks. It's not always me that sticks the boot in, okay?
But I mean, yeah. So like, I have to be fair about it, because like, if you're presenting your music today, and I mean, because trust me, I've been in a lot of bands that we've put out stuff, and most people will never hear it, have never heard it. And if my buddies from my old band from high school said, hey, let's just get together and record our old songs again, I'd be like, yes. And then I'd put it out there for the world, knowing full well that this is not great. We were young, and this was, we weren't incredible.
Yeah, we'll put it out there, but really it's for us.
Yeah. But, so it does have its like, charms to it, because I for some reason, I got the feeling that you were saying, like, this must have been really fun for them to do. And there's a little bit of that rubs off. But other than that, it's all very mid-paced. The tempo is kind of the same all the way through. And everything is kind of generic things for metal, all kind of done in a generic and very stiff way. And it was just one of those things where I had a hard time, really enjoying it, because it just felt, and the demos are on there too. Like you said, it's a whole lot of shit, because there's the re-recorded songs and then the demo versions. And I go, oh, well, let me go listen to the demo version to see if it's less stiff. Nope, it's fucking stiff in 1995. So I get the appeal for this. Once again, I feel like if you're like an umbrella metal fan, I just enjoy metal. This is probably a fun album.
This is probably cutting edge if you're that guy.
But for me, like, I'm so picky, and I just, I want my old school to be my old school, and I want new things to bring in the new. Yes. Bring me the new. But I can't, like you said, you can't expect this to be bringing in the new, because it's re-recorded songs from the 90s. So it has its enjoyable qualities, but overall, like, it didn't do anything for me. But I liked this request, and we talked about it, I think, in the video everyone watched before. It's more interesting for me to hear an album that
you listen to, podcasters,
or listen to.
You.
Yeah. I would rather hear an album that doesn't really do it for me, that has kind of an interesting backstory or facts behind it, than one where it's just like, here's another new thrash band from America doing old school stuff because they love municipal waste. Here you go. That's
Although, if by the same token, don't think that unless you've got a 90-page essay on why you think we should listen to this album, then don't bother sending it to us. No, not at all. We're not saying that. It's just handy to have a bit of background, or you've seen how we kind of make our choices. But and just focus on one band, one album, and just be passionate. Do you know what I mean? It's like, just be passionate, because if someone's got some stuff, an album they want to suggest out there where it's like, look, like if you like this kind of music, I think you two will absolutely fucking love this, and here's why. Whatever. Or if it's like this, there was an interesting kind of story attached to it, and we didn't get a massive volume of requests this time, which was great, because normally we get tons, and then we got a lot less. So can we just can we hit the middle ground this time, guys? But because ultimately we are all up for new music. That's why that's why we're here. I mean, and again, I can't say it enough. I have Deficiency, Warrenta. What an album! What a CD! What a band! Just absolute, fantastic. So
at this point, the person that seems really hard to please is me, because I don't think I've liked anything that's been suggested so far.
Well, to be fair, it's only one album I've liked, and everything else I pretty much haven't liked. I mean, to finish off on Emissary, great name, by the way. I like that. It's one of those names where you go, God, there must be another band called Emissary. No, there isn't. Wow, well done. And that's and really, it's downhill after that.
I almost feel like this is going to become like, this is probably an American reference, but you may know it. There was a commercial for, I think it was Life cereal or something like that, and the whole commercial was like, there's this one kid that hates everything, and like, hey, let's have Mikey try this. He hates everything, and then he eats the cereal and he's like, he likes it. And so I think this is going to be that thing where I'm Mikey, and it's just like, come on, somebody bring me some cereal that I'm finally gonna like.
That's quite the demand that you've got there, isn't it? There you go, listeners and viewers. The name of the podcast is Old Keep Steve Happy. Is that kind of it? Is that kind of where we're at? Have we discussed everything?
I mean, I think we have. I mean, we fit in like a good number of albums in this episode, so I think we've given everybody their month's worth of content.
Look, let me month's worth of content. I'm checking religiously my old Bollocks playlist, and that's it really. It's other than just to Primus again, just can't believe Primus put something out that I absolutely fucking love.
It's
after
great.
all these years.
They haven't. It's been since the 90s since they put something out that I was really gung-ho about. I've liked everything, but it hasn't been the excitement about what they're doing now. I hope that whatever they do next, they continue on that, whatever the weird trip is they're on. Like after covering a Rush album, it's like they got inspired or something. I don't know.
Right, I'm gonna have to just bear with me a second, all right?
Okay.
I've got a parakeet, and it's managed to get its teeth into the rubber surround that holds the pane of glass in the window, and it's pulling it away, and it's literally hanging by one claw against the window.
I love how this is uninteresting to the podcast and video viewers. Because we can't see it. We can't see what the hell you're talking about.
Right. Fair point. So,
he's gonna go save a bird.
No. Give me a sec. I'm gonna actually do this now.
Oh,
So we're gonna go no effects. Hey,
Oh.
my front room. And we're gonna go.
We're gonna move over in the movie world. They call this scope, folks. We're actually gonna move somewhere else in our episode.
Yeah, right now. See. Oh, the bastard just flew off. After all of that. Right,
and that was old bollocks. Thank you. Good night.
Right. I'll tell you what, mate. Let's just chop that section because that's fucking.
No, that's perfect. That's the perfect ending right there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Just so fantastic podcast. I think that must have been a right pain to listen to.
Yeah.
And here it is. Here's my home. Here is my incredible.
Oh yeah. Show that to the old bollocks watchers and viewers.
That's the obnoxious shark that lives in my.
Great.
It is awesome. So, dude, next month let's do it all again.
Sounds
good. Remember everybody, send us your stuff.
Yes, do it.
Cool.
Laters. Bye.